Hello and welcome to the Anxious Knitter podcast. My name is Joy and I'm the Anxious Knitter. I'm so anxious that when I listen to or watch too much true crime stuff, I don't just get paranoid that I'm going to get murdered, I also get paranoid that I'm somehow a psychopath. Which doesn't make any sense because I cry at just about everything and I love dogs way too much. You can't be a psychopath if you love dogs, right? Anyway, you're here for episode 30. Like I said, my name is Joy, and I'm coming to you from Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, where I live with my husband Luke and our dog Opie, who you can see just there. Look at that. Hey, Opie. There he is. This is a podcast mostly about knitting, but occasionally about crochet, embroidery, sewing, yarn dyeing, and whatever other crafty thing catches my fancy at the moment. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. It means so much to me that you want to spend a little part of your day with me, especially because I know that I've been uploading pretty sporadically lately. And if you are a brand new viewer, and there are quite a few of you, where did you come from? How did you find me? I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. And I hope you find something that you like or find interesting. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been since November. That was not intentional. I meant to record before Christmas. I wanted to have an episode where you could see our pretty Christmas tree, but that didn't happen. December kind of took me for a ride, frankly. I got the flu, and then Opie had a couple of minor injuries. I'll probably talk about that later. Actually, I might make that my dweeb story, although it's just really sad. Not so much dweeby, but after that, I immediately got, okay, wait, no. Then we had a death in the family. Luke's grandmother passed away, unfortunately, at the age of, I think, 93. Just a couple of days before her 94th birthday, I think. So obviously we had a lot of stuff going on in regards to that. And then I got pink eye. It was awful. It looked terrible. It was, on the first day I woke up with my eye crested shut, and then, later that day my eyes started feeling, like, weird, and so I went into the bathroom to look in the mirror, and was literally like, whoa, because it looked like my eye was, like, down here. Like, it was swollen and drooping. It was the stuff of nightmares. So I had pink eye, and then it was Christmas, and then it was New Year's, and now we're getting ready for our trip. So it's just been a whole thing. But yeah, I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday season. I hope that you didn't have pink eye, and that you kept warm if you're somewhere that's cold, and kept cool if you're somewhere that's warm, and whatever you celebrated, I hope it was great and you got to spend time with people that are awesome. So yeah, I'm really glad to be back after the live episode, which was awesome. I loved doing that, and I was so worried that people were not going to show up, or it was just gonna be my mom. But yeah, so that was so much fun, and I'm sorry if you missed it. I know I did it over the American Thanksgiving, but I will definitely do another one of those in the future, probably in February, when things maybe calm down a little bit. But yeah, it was so much fun. A lot of cool stuff came out of that, including the possibility of a Paranormal Knit Night kind of sub podcast, not so much a podcast as just like a little mini channel, like, or not, mini video series kind of thing, because we were talking about ghost stories and stuff, and it kind of just came up, the idea of telling ghost stories while knitting and that sort of thing, and that's so up my alley, and I want to do that in 2018. That is absolutely something that I am planning to do. Haven't obviously had a chance yet because just things have been crazy, but once, you know, everything slows down, goes back to its normal pace, I want to be researching, and I want to bring that to you guys, for all of you who are like me and love a good ghost story, and love knitting. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't decided on a name yet. It might be Paranormal Knit Night. It might be Knitting with Ghosts. Let me know if you have any ideas. I'd love to hear them. or if you like either of those two working titles. The other thing I wanted to address really quickly was there are suddenly a lot of you. I don't know how that happened. Actually, let me just quickly check, because I know we crossed 1,500 subscribers, and by we, I mean this channel. It's so funny how we always say we. I don't know, like a collective we, like I'm suddenly an entity, or I don't know, whatever, it's weird. Anyway, yeah, we are at 1,540 subscribers, which is crazy. I don't know where you all came from, honestly, I don't know, but I'm really happy you're here. And so I think at some point in the next few weeks, I'd like to do a giveaway of some Cabinet of Curios yarn. So keep an eye out for that. There will be a giveaway coming up after our trip. Which I guess I'll just kind of shimmy along into the first segment, which is Hear Ye, Hear Ye, which of course is the announcements and news section. Now, I have a notebook. I wrote stuff down today. I never do that anymore, but there was a lot of stuff to cover. And speaking of which, just to forewarn you, I'm not going to talk about everything that I've worked on in detail today, just because there's just so much stuff. But anyway, I did want to mention, in terms of, I just want to get the news from the cabinet stuff sort of out of the way in the announcement section, because I just think it's important if you're interested in buying any of our stuff lately, and I just want to kind of get it out there. Ooh, can you hear that? It's my blinds and the wind. Because I'm wearing my Veronica cardi today, which is fine if I'm not recording, but when I record I get super warm and like, I don't know, nervous. So I had to open the window, but we'll see, that might have to get closed. But I did want to say, so we will be closing the shop from January 15th to January 27th, because obviously we're going to be in Florida and we will not be able to fulfill orders until then. So if you really want something, I would suggest getting it in before the end of this week. I think, sorry, my computer is about to go black. I think the absolute last day that I will ship things is the 15th. I prefer to get things out by the 13th if possible. But otherwise, it'll have to wait until after we get back. And we have some exciting stuff coming to the shop after our trip. I will most likely not be doing stitch markers for the next update, because instead we are going to be doing some extra special project bags. They're going to be a beautiful, the outer layer will be a beautiful 100% linen in a natural, like, taupey beige shade, and I will be hand embroidering those with some one-of-a-kind patterns. And that's just going to take up a lot of the time that I would otherwise be spending working on stitch markers. So there's that, which I'm very excited about. I think they're going to turn out really, really pretty, and I'm really excited about the fabric. I love linen. And then the other thing was, and I'm going to talk about it now really quick, because someone on my regular Instagram commented about this. So I've dyed up a skein of yarn to knit Disney socks while we're in Disney, because I thought that would be fun. Luke made me a really cute Minnie Mouse bag to bring with me. So I dyed up this, which is a Little Mermaid skein. I think you could probably tell by the red, green, and purple. And gosh, this was an experience to dye this yarn, but I'm pretty happy with it. And I'm wondering if you guys would be interested in some kind of limited edition Disney colorways. I'm going to post this on the Cabinet of Curios Instagram this week, but I thought I'd just throw it out here in case you see this here or you don't follow Cabinet of Curios yet or whatever. Oh, which, by the way, that is the hand-dyed yarn company that Luke and I own. We make yarn, stitch markers, and bags, if you didn't already know that. And, of course, I will put the information in the down bar below and on the screen. Although it's probably already there, so this was unnecessary gesticulation. Anyway, if you are interested in some Disney colorways, I was not originally planning to dye Disney colorways, but I love Disney and I love dyeing yarn, so if it's something that you guys want, let me know. And if you do want Disney yarn, tell me what your favorite characters, films, even like scenes are in some Disney movies, including Pixar. And then we'll see kind of if there's any running themes between that. And I'll pick a couple and dye some for the next update. And that goes for any other colorways too. If there's something that you really wanted and you it's not in the shop right now, or you couldn't get it before, let me know what you'd like to see in the shop, because I'm happy to dye those colorways. And I think that's it in terms of news. Sorry, I'm blowing out like crazy. I'm really not that pale. I'm pretty pale, but anyway. No, I'm not going to close that, Joy. That's a bad idea, because then you're not going to look at it again. Put that over here. So, let's talk dweeb story, right? That should actually have been my first segment. Can you tell it's been a while? Anyway, here's your dweeb story of the month and a half. So, gosh, you guys, this was such an experience. Opie, this poor guy, look at this poor dog over here. No, he's fine now. He's totally fine now. Everything is healed up. But, we were cutting his nails. Can you guess where this is going? We were trimming his nails, and he's not very good at getting his nails trimmed, so like it's a two-person job. Luke is usually the one doing the cutting. I'm usually the one, I've got a treat in my hand that I let him like nibble little bits of to keep him distracted. And we had gotten his front feet done fine. We were on his back foot, one of his back feet, and we cut a nail too short because we had lined it up, and then Opie kind of pulled his foot, and ended up getting cut way too short. It was awful. If you don't own a dog, or I don't know if cats are the same, probably, because I know birds are, but nails bleed like you would not believe. It's like when you cut your head and you just gush blood and you look like you're dying. Our bathroom looked like we had murdered somebody, which we hadn't. It was awful. It was so awful. And he would not stand still, and we didn't have a lot of materials on hand to stop the blood flow. So like we were packing cornstarch on it, and it wasn't working. It was bleeding so much, and he was so stressed. And we had like I was wearing, it sucked because I was wearing my souvenir sweatshirt from Salem, and it got all covered in blood. Luckily, I was able to get the majority of it out. Like, you can't see it anymore, but if you don't know that it was there. But we had, like, Luke had Opie, like, flipped like a baby, so I could, like, hold his paw with some toilet paper, a paper towel, and it was not stopping. In the end, Luke had to leave me alone with Opie while he was bleeding, so we could go out and get some of that styptic pen. Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called, for when you like cut yourself shaving and you need it to stop bleeding. And like we had to wrap his foot. And so he left me alone. I had my mom on the phone. Wait, before Luke left, I need to tell you this. So I had Opie bleeding, and then Luke started getting woozy from the blood. So Luke was about to pass out, literally, in the bathroom. So I had to be like, hey, you need to go out of the room, and you need to like lie down or something while I take care of this. And then finally Luke went to go get some gauze and medical tape and stuff, whatever. And so I'm alone. I have my mom on the phone. I'm like kind of crying because like I'm so stressed out about this dog. He bled for 2 hours. It was 2 hours before we were able to get him properly wrapped up and like lying down on the couch. It was so stressful. It was awful. I can't even tell you how awful it was. But he didn't, like, he was, and then he's, of course, limping around and acting like he can't walk anymore, which, of course, he can. But, Yeah, so that was a whole thing. And on top of everything, I was also wearing that night brand new leggings that I had bought specifically to bring to Disney, but then I was like, oh, but it's like, I'm just gonna wear them a couple times and, you know, whatever. And then he bled all over those, so in the end, maybe this is TMI, but I'm sitting in the bathroom with him waiting for Luke, and I'm like, oh no, I can't take this anymore, so I just, like, took my pants off. So I'm like, I can't get any more blood on this. I want to take these to Disney. Oh man, it was the worst. But everything's fine. He's fine. Of course, 2 days later, he ended up cutting his paw on some ice hidden under the snow when Luke took him out to go to the bathroom, so then we were also dealing with the whole gauze wrapping thing again. I've never gone through so much gauze in my life. So yeah, that was just a whole thing. If you guys have ever encountered this before where you've like accidentally cut your dog's nails too short, it is awful. You feel awful, and it's so stressful because it's so much blood. I remember when when we had our budgie, I had accidentally cut his one nail too short, and I felt so bad because he was just this tiny little creature, and it was so awful. But oh, I feel so bad. But yeah, it's over. Everything's fine. I was prepared to take him to the emergency vet if we could not get it stopped with the Styptic pen, but luckily that thing worked like a charm. He didn't like it because it stung, but it worked. Anyway, let's get into the knitting content because I've got a lot of it to talk about today. So let's start with some finished objects. Okay, I can't even show you all of my finished objects because most of them were gift knits, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. I finished 2 pairs of socks since last we spoke. So I'll show you this first pair. I'm only using one sock blocker since I have 2 pairs of socks to show you. So I finished this pair of socks for my dad. It's blowing out like crazy. It's way more green IRL. But this is in my own colorway called his most prized Jewel Beetle, which is a turquoise, teal, and green, and blue, inspired obviously by Jewel Beetles. And I did contrasting heel toes and cuffs in Madeline Tosh Twist Light in the Snowbird colorway, I think is what it's called. But yeah, so I did a 3x1 rib on just the front of the sock, Fish Lips Kiss heel. I did a short cuff just because the rest of the sock is basically a cuff, so it's mostly just for like aesthetic purposes. And I did a standard wedge toe. It's the one that I think you can find just about any pattern that calls for it, but I use the one in the Hermione's Everyday Socks pattern. I didn't otherwise use a pattern, 64 stitches. And yeah, this is blowing out like crazy. Why is it blowing out so much? It's bright, it's not that bright. But yeah, so you may recognize this from my Girl from the Grocery Store shawl. It was one of the main colors I used. But yeah, I've been working on these for a long time, and I was like, I've just been in a mood lately of like, I need to get things off my needles now. Like some of these projects, especially small projects, I'm like, they've been sitting here forever. I need them off my needles so I don't feel bad about casting on new things. And this was one of those things. So I'm excited to give my dad these. I think these were the first pair I knit where I used his like actual cardboard cutout for sizing. So hopefully these fit him better than his other socks that I've knit him so far. I've been really into socks again lately. I kind of was having a moment where I wasn't enjoying socks so much. But now I'm kind of into it again. So anyway, second pair of socks are my Halloween socks. Yeah, so I did the blueberry waffle socks, which I can never remember the name of the designer, but of course it's up on the screen right now. I did this in Pretty Twisted Yarns in, I think, the Boogie Nights colorway. These are what I call my Monster Mash socks. I think they're just so fun. And I loved knitting with this yarn. It's a gold stellina yarn. I don't know if you can tell. probably not, but it is really sparkly, and I love that. And I knit them with, I knit a 7-inch leg instead of my usual 6-inch leg because I just loved these colors so much, and I loved this yarn so much that I just wanted to keep going, and I wanted that higher leg so I could make them scrunchy around like short boots or whatever. But I was really excited to finish these, and I've been dying to wear them, but I've been holding off so they look nice and fresh and clean for when I show you right now. So yeah, very excited to wear these. Probably will wear these to the airport because I'm going to be wearing socks and sandals to the airport. I don't want to bring a coat or boots, so I'm going to wear crazy socks and a romper with wide leg culottes and a long cardigan. I'm going to look like an absolute crazy person. Whatever. This yarn was a gift from the dyer, Teresa. Thank you so much, Teresa. It was a lovely, lovely yarn to work with, and I highly recommend you guys go out and get yourself some. My next finished object is a hat, and this yarn was also a gift. I participated in the Getting Your Yarn Wishes Granted, and I had asked for some British yarn, and so Kath sent me this yarn, and I love it. It's Rowan Felted Tweed. I'd never used it before, and it really bloomed and softened up in the wash, and I just love this. This is the Aim True hat by Caitlin Hunter. It is a free pattern by Caitlin Hunter of Boyland Knitworks, if you don't somehow know who that is. And it is a colorwork hat, 2 colors. I guess you could use whatever you wanted. DK weight, I did a little pom-pom. I wasn't sure if I was going to do the pom-pom, but I flippin' love this hat. I love it so much. It's so pretty. She sent like my colors exactly, which is a beautiful tweedy navy blue and a tweedy mustard yellow. Look, it matches my Veronica actually like really, really well. And I opted not to do the like fold up brim. What I did, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I decided to finish the hat before I decided. But what I did is I folded it under and just whip stitched it to be a double brim. I will say that soaking it, while it did make the color work just look amazing, it did kind of flatten my double brim. I don't know why, but it's fine. It's, we've had some negative 34 degrees Celsius weather lately. This hat was not the best hat for that. This was not warm enough, but I wore it anyway because I wanted to. But look at that. It looks super impressive, and it knits really fast because it's so much fun. And I would definitely recommend this as a gift knit if you know someone who loves kind of an eye-popping hat. But yeah, it looks gigantic. I know, it looks like it should fit like a giant man, but sorry, I just want to put it on again. Oh, this is so good. You guys gotta knit this hat. It's so cute. It's very slouchy. I think if you were to knit it non-slouchy, I think the best way to do that would maybe be to cut some of the diamonds out. Maybe do just like 1 band each, and that would save you a couple inches. But yeah, so that's the Aim True hat, and that's one I think I'll knit again in different colors because it's so pretty. Oh, I wanted to do just a couple of quick kind of pattern shout outs for a couple of the things that I knit as gifts, just 2 things. I don't have any pictures of my gift knits. I was dumb and I did not take pictures of them, but I'll put the pictures from the designer up. The first thing is the Tilda Mittens by, and I did write this down, Anise Sang. And these are a bulky weight mitten. It's a free pattern. It comes, you can also download the coordinating hat, and they look so cute. They knit up so fast, and they're really cozy. I was really kind of sad I didn't have a pair for my own. I knit them for my younger brother's girlfriend, and she really liked them. The cables are super simple. Sorry. got dirty glasses. And, but they really kind of pack a punch when you look at them. And then the other thing that I knit that I wanted to kind of shout out is another free pattern. It's the, why did I put this back? It's the Brunswick Beanie by Sue Granfield. That hat is a simple 1x1 rib hat, but it just was the best knit. I loved knitting that hat. All I wanted to knit was like 10 of them. I don't even like knitting ribbing, but I loved knitting this hat, and I loved the decreases. They looked so clean. The pattern actually is just like a tight like beanie, but what I did, because my brother likes to wear hats with folded brims, is I knit a couple extra inches so that it could be folded up, and I knit it in Barocco Vintage DK in a heathered orange. Oh, and the Tilda mittens I knit in Lion Brand Wool Spun, their bulky one, and it was really great. I really loved knitting with that yarn. It had a very interesting texture. But yeah, the Brunswick Beanie, great simple hat if you just need to whip off a quick hat for yourself, for a loved one, whatever, or for charity. It would be a great charity hat, I think, because it's so fast. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of shout that out. And then the last finished object I wanted to show you is not mine. It's Luke's. But, so we decided this year to do kind of a Craftmas instead of just buying each other gifts. I still have to finish his sweater. But he, over the break, finished a skirt for me. And I just had to show you. I unfortunately, I'm not wearing it. But what I'm hoping is that by the time I post this, or by the time I edit this, I'll be able to get some photos of it so you can see it on me. But, yeah, he knit me the Holly Burn skirt in the longest length in this adorable purple ghost fabric. I love it so much. It fits perfectly. He did such a good job. I just wanted to show you some of the details. He did the belt loops. He put in a zipper, which was, I think, his first time doing, it's his first garment. So, you know, it was his first time putting in a zipper like that. First time using like a real like pattern, and it turned out so good. I wonder if I can just kind of like hold it up so you can see it a little bit. Geez, wind chill. But there, so you can kind of see how it's an A-line. It's got this cute little like the wide structured waistband. It actually probably would look really cute with this outfit in general. But yeah, it's it hits me. Sorry, I was getting a text from my brother. It hits me kind of like, oh no, you can see the hole in my sock. Sorry. Oh my gosh, how embarrassing. It hits me kind of like here, which is where I like my skirts mostly to hit me. I like longer skirts. So yes, I love it so much. I was hoping to bring it to Disney to wear on Haunted Mansion because I'm a nerd, but the problem is that we're only taking carry-on, and my suitcase is pretty full already, and I took out a bunch of stuff, so this might not make the cut, unfortunately, but I just love it so much, and it's just so, like, precious to me, because, like, I know that he made it, and he really tried so hard to get it, you know, as close to perfect as possible, and, oh, I almost got the best part about the Holly Burn, if you don't already know, is it has pockets, like, really nice, deep, functional pockets. So, like, it really is, like, perfect. But yeah, so Luke's first garment, guys. Isn't that awesome? 2017 was the year of garments for us. So yeah, those are the finished objects I have to share with you, or that I've chosen to share with you. And so let's move on to works in progress. Oh, this episode's gonna be so long. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking so much. So the first thing I want to show you is my Homestead shawl by Melody Hoffman, who, I mean, needs no introduction. This is an Aran Weight or worsted or Aran Weight shawl. I'm knitting it out of Lion Brand fisherman's wool in the oatmeal colorway. I wound up my whole second skein into a ball. It's gigantic. But yeah, so I made quite a bit of progress. You can see I've gotten all of this done. Still got a ways to go yet. It's a pretty huge shawl. I really wish that I'd had it for all this terrible weather we've been having. But you can kind of get the gist of what it looks. It's mostly garter stitch with some cute double kind of yarn over eyelets and a lateral braid or lateral braids, which is a really cool technique and looks really, really pretty. And I really like this yarn. I don't find it very scratchy at all. Don't want to get red lipstick on it. I don't really find it scratchy. I really enjoy working with it. It's great. It's affordable if you want something that's 100% wool. I would probably knit a sweater out of this. Maybe like a cardigan where I would have like an extra layer underneath. But yeah, so it's an asymmetrical shawl, obviously. It'll be great for these Canadian winters. And I just started my second skein, so like it's a pretty big sweater. Shawl, but it's really cozy. I'd love to knit this again out of like a really nice yarn, like yarn on the house maybe, but I think the rusticness kind of lends itself well to that shawl. So hopefully I'll have that done soon. I've just gotten distracted by a few other things, but I want to get that done. I don't think I'm gonna do the whole, because I think you repeat the 3 braid section a 3rd time and it's a lot. I don't think I need it to be that big, in all honesty. I'm really excited to see how it blocks, though. The next whip I wanted to show you, is a new pair of socks. Finally, guys, finally. I was able to cast on my Van Gogh socks. So this is a commercial yarn. It's Opal, and it's from their Van Gogh series. This is inspired by the sunflowers painting, the one that's in the jar with the like kind of tealy, bluey green background. I've been dying to cast these on since I bought this yarn like well over a month ago. It's obviously not the softest yarn to knit with, but it's worth it because it's so pretty. And I'm knitting them on a different pair of needles than usual. I'm knitting them on Knit Picks circulars, and I quite like them. I think they're great cheaper alternatives to HiHis and ChiaoGoos. If you find like that you don't want to spend the money on those needles, I think the Knit Picks ones will take care of you just fine. I've not had any problems with the joins really. And they're maybe not as smooth as ChiaoGoos, but this is a solid needle. I have no problem. I would probably stock up on these needles in different sizes in the future because it's good to just have them around, I think. But here's the ball. Yeah, the one thing that I don't know what's going on is I'm getting really bad laddering, and I'm not knitting these any different than I knit any other socks, and I usually don't get laddering like this. So I was kind of thinking about ripping it out, but then at the same time I was like, or I could not do that and just be fine with it. And I can always I have a really super long end, I always do. I can always take that down and just kind of tighten up some of the extra loose areas if need be. But yeah, this was like one sitting pretty much. I did all this because I was so excited about it. And because I'm trying to not cast on my Disney socks until like the day before we leave. So yeah. Quick question for those of you who have traveled with your knitting. I was going to just put my knitting bag in my tote bag, which is my personal item. But should I put the knitting bag in my carry-on until we get through security and then take that out and put it in my tote bag to bring it on the plane? Because I just don't want to lose my needles because I'm using my ChiaoGoos for my Ariel socks. Let me know if you've had any issues with that, going between Canada and the US particularly. Oh, and the other work in progress, I have 2 more works in progress. I'll show this one first. So I did cast on something new last night. It doesn't look like much now. It's a sleeve, but it's for the Little Twigs sweater by Melody Hoffman as well. I've been dying to knit this. I am knitting it in Knit Picks wool of... Wow, does not want to show you that label. Knit Picks wool of the Andes in the Shire colorway. I got this on sale. It's a heathered green. I love it so much. I really enjoy working with this yarn. I find it very squishy. Like, I don't find it very rough. Sometimes even Cascade 220 can feel a little rough on my hands. Definitely softer than the Fisherman's wool. But, yeah, so her pattern calls for knitting the sleeves first, just so you get them out of the way. It's a bottom-up sweater, which I've not done an actual, like, full bottom-up sweater with sleeves, so I'm interested to see how that goes. I'm knitting the second size, which I got gauged exactly on my swatch. I'm wondering if my gauge is maybe a bit loose, but I'm okay with that because I don't mind a sweater to be oversized. I generally prefer it. So yeah, I've been working away on my sweater, and I've been just loving plain stockinette and garter, like just really simple, comforting projects ever since like the craziness of December, which is why I haven't touched my Sisal Pop in a while, because I just can't be bothered to think about like my knitting right now. I just want my knitting to be very meditative. So yeah, I'm hoping I have enough. I should. But yeah, so that's hopefully will be more interesting for you to look at the next time I see this. And then my last work in progress that I'm going to show you today, I do have a couple others, but this is the last one I'm going to show you. It's not knitting, it is sewing, and it's my sewing. And I decided to start making a quilt. Why not? Out of scraps. I have so much scraps from like bags and some of this fabric, like this fabric and this fabric I've had for actually years. Oh, it's upside down. For years, because I bought it at like Walmart in a Fat Quarter bundle and like didn't know what to do with it. So yeah, it's not a huge quilt. This is it folded in half, so it's really just for kind of being on the couch and snuggling while you're reading or knitting or watching TV. But I'm really happy with it so far. I've had some hiccups. For one thing, towards the bottom of my quilt, my squares just kind of stopped lining up, which kind of sucked because the top of my quilt lined up just fine. I don't know, whatever. But I don't really care, in all fairness. It's gonna be fine. It does not need to be perfect. I loved putting together the quilt top. That was so much fun. I learned how to use Luke's sewing machine for that, and then I also borrowed my mom's sewing machine. I was gonna use it for like the quilting part of it, which I will, but okay. So yeah, I'm pin basting mine. I just find that much easier than the spray basting, and cheaper. And I also just find the process of it very meditative and really enjoyable, like therapeutic. But I started to quilt. Let me see if I can find it. And the sewing machine was having none of it. It was like, oh, you want to go through all these layers? Yeah, you can't. Don't even try it. So we've collectively spent hours unpicking this partial seam. Where did it go? Here. So you can see just kind of the last couple inches of it, but this is the least of it. It was all knotted and nesting, and it was awful, and it looked really bad. Like, so we've been picking it out bit by bit. So hopefully this will get done soon. I do think I maybe did something out of order. I think I was supposed to trim the edges after I finished quilting it, but I did it before. Oh well, it's fine. I just used a bed sheet, a twin-size bed sheet as the backing, and yeah, all of my scraps and leftovers and whatever as my quilt itself. So hopefully this will be done soon and I can show you the finished product. But I just got my batting at Michael's because you can use your 50% off coupons, and then your batting, like the batting cost me like $7. What? So yeah, there's that. And that was the last whip I wanted to show you. So let's quickly move along to, I'm going to kind of slightly rename this, stuff I acquired for knitting. Okay, so like I said, I participated in the Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted, and I had a few people offer to send me some British yarn. And the other yarn I received is some West Yorkshire Spinners sock yarn from the lovely Jill, who owns Birdie and Poppet. I want to make sure I got that right. Birdie and Poppet on Etsy, and she does, I think, project bags and stuff like that, and she had also sent me some adorable stitch markers, but Luke and I cleaned, which means I do not know where anything is anymore, so I can't show them to you, unfortunately, but just know that they're adorable, and her logo is amazing, and I'm sorry I keep having to touch my computer, but anyway, so she sent me some West Yorkshire Spinners in the coordinating colors. I think obviously this is a self-patterning yarn of some kind, and this one's a solid, and it was funny I laughed when I opened this because this goes with literally every self-striping sock yarn that I have currently in my stash. Every single one of them could have heels, toes, and cuffs with this yarn, so that's pretty funny. But yeah, so that was such a lovely gift. I love a self-patterning sock, so I can't wait to knit these up. And thank you so much, Jill. I love Jill's comments on Instagram. She's so nice. But yeah, so that was really, really kind. And like I said, I also received the Rowan felted tweed. And then this is not an acquisition exactly. I dyed this, but so as a part of my friend's Christmas gifts this year, I offered to dye them a skein of yarn according to a color palette or fandom of choice, and my one friend Elena requested navy blue and blush pink. Easy enough, you would think. So interesting thing about dyeing that, what I had done was I dyed the whole thing blush, and then I took it out of the water, I wrung it out, well, I squeezed it out, and then I resist tied it, so I re-skeined it loosely and dunked it into the pot of inky navy blue dye, thinking it would work the way my avocado dyed yarn works, the way my Pet Cemetery yarn worked. When it came out, it looked terrible. It was so bad. I don't know why, but the blue, maybe those of you who are more experienced dyers can answer this question for me. The blue had like leached out all the pink. There were still areas that would have been pink, but they were now like just sort of a dull white color. And then I tried to put the pink back in. Oh, no, not in that one. I didn't try to put the pink back in. I was just like, wow, that looks like garbage. So I had this garbage skein just lying around. Oh, sorry if you heard my stomach just growl. It is lunchtime. So what I ended up doing was over-dyeing it for myself. And I over-dyed it with a really saturated dark green. And this is showing up pretty good. It's maybe a little bit more green than it is blue here. But it turned into a really, really nice green tonal that's really dark. So I think I'm going to use this as the dark part of a Sunset Highway sweater, because I want to do a Sunset Highway sweater out of all my own hand-dyed yarn. So currently my colors for the yoke are going to be this, the orange I used for my Mount Pleasant tee, and a skein of Remington No. 1. So what turned out, what I thought was going to be garbage, was saved for this. And speaking of that color thing, so I re-dyed it. I got a new skein, and I was like, okay, I'll dye the pink first, and then I'll do the blue the way I normally do it, where I just kind of pour it over sections. No, the same thing happened, and I ended up trying to dip dye it back, and I think I got it to look okay, but I was so stressed out about it. I don't know why that happened. I think in future, I'm going to have to, if I'm going to do that color palette, I have to dip dye it or dye the blue first, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so those are all my sort of acquisitions. Which I think means all the Yarny stuff is done. So if that's all you came for, that's great. I will see you next time, post Disney World. And if not, hang around for my last segment, which is... I almost forgot the name of it. My Life, etc. Okay. Got a few things to talk about. I'm going to try not to wax poetic. Couple things. So the first thing was, I know I had mentioned this in the live episode, but Luke and I we played Santa and Mrs. Claus at the Lone Wolf Christmas Party, which is where Luke works. Ooh. I don't know if I should have said that. Whatever. Anyway, it's fine. We didn't, no, sorry. I just lost my train of thought again. Wow. Okay. Also, my light is getting gross, which sucks because it means my screen's getting grainy. Oh well, whatever. It was interesting. It was an interesting experience, and some really cute kids, though. I had one kid come running up to me, and he was like, started talking about this person, Ralph, and then I was like, okay, and then I realized, using context clues, that he was talking about his Elf on a Shelf, and so I had to do some quick thinking, and then I was like, oh yeah, Ralph, I know Ralph. So that was funny. And then we had a couple criers, a couple of non-committers, some babies. It was fun anyway. Like, meeting the kids was fun. It was just really long. We were up there for a really long time, and it wasn't very, like, organized. Like, they didn't have, like, a... This is the time you meet Santa and Mrs. Claus. It was just like, come up at your leisure. So there was a lot of time where Luke and I were just kind of sitting there awkwardly, like, trying to have a conversation without the kids overhearing us. So, yeah, that was fun. It was interesting. There were some cute kids. There was one kid that has a really unique name. I won't share it, but Luke knows who the kid is because of the parents. So he was like, oh, you must be... blah blah blah, and the kid's face just lit up, and apparently he like could not believe that like Santa knew his name. Like, it was really cool, and that was really special, I think, for like, even for Luke, but it was just a fun moment. Yeah, so then Christmas was interesting. It was you know, I had a burst blood vessel in my eye from the pink eye, which was great. Luckily, it cleared up really quick, because I know sometimes it can last for weeks. Mostly just, we did Christmas, the 23rd was Christmas with my family. We were gonna go on the 25th, to Luke's, the mother's side, which is the big side, but then Opie had the injury, and, one of us had to stay home to make sure he didn't, like, take off the bandage and lick the wound. So I stayed home and Luke went. And then Boxing Day we went to my grandparents' place and had cannelloni, which was amazing. And then on the 30th we had Luke's other Christmas. So it's a lot of Christmas. But luckily everybody's in town pretty much. Like, well, my grandparents aren't in town, so there was just like one trip that had to go out of town. So not too bad. And the weather wasn't too bad either. But we got a white Christmas, which was great. New Year's was just at home. Luke and I watched some movies. We played this game. It's called Oxenfree. It's really cool. It's like a choose your own adventure. So there's like lots of different options. Like, you're operating a person, and like the way you choose kind of what to do, a lot of it is by speech bubbles. So you choose her responses to things, and like you're just on this creepy island. It's a creepy kind of like paranormal young adult sort of setting, and it's so fun, and actually legitimately creepy. So if you're into that sort of thing, you should look that up. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. Oh, okay, just some media stuff. I'm gonna whip through this because I've been talking for 52 minutes. So first thing I want to talk about was Anne with an E. It finally came to Canadian Netflix. I love Anne of Green Gables so much. I have a copy of Anne of Green Gables that my mom got in PEI in the 70s. I love it so much. I love the Megan Follows. Anne of Green Gables. Jonathan Crombie as Gilbert Blythe was one of my first crushes. And I was really expecting to love Anne with an E because I really liked the previews for it. Didn't really. I won't lie to you. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know why everything was so melodramatic and over the top. Because here's the thing. Anne of Green Gables is a simple story about a young girl coming from a garbage, orphanage, a probably abusive, foster home, and finding acceptance and, a real life and a family in Prince Edward Island. And I felt like this show just felt the need to keep her miserable from start to finish. Every single event that was joyful in the book or funny in the book was just devastating in the show. If you don't know anything about Anne of Green Gables and haven't watched it yet, this is kind of spoilery, I guess, but in the book, it's it's a minor event in general, but in the book she gets to go to a church picnic and she gets to eat ice cream, and it's a really wonderful experience for her. And then, generally speaking, but in the TV show, everyone's making fun of her to her face and barking at her like she's a dog, and she runs away crying and miserable and doesn't get to enjoy any of it. Her best friend, Diana, is even kind of awful until, the end of the first season. And it just went way off script. I don't mind taking, people taking artistic liberties, but it went too far. The original Anne of Green Gables miniseries had all of the whimsy and was still not boring. So I don't know why there needed to be guns and a mugging and just craziness. It was crazy. And I didn't like any of the child actors. I didn't like the girl playing Anne. All the other kids sounded like they were reading lines. I hate to say it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And it was one of those things that, I watched the whole thing in one day. I was like, I'm not spending any more than a day on this show. And it just fell so flat for me. It was beautifully shot. I will say I loved Marilla. She was great. She played the mother in The Five, which I also really loved, and I loved her performance in that. She's a great actress. But other than that, I really just didn't feel like it captured the spirit of Anne of Green Gables at all. It was too dark. I totally get the, the reality of PTSD and, having had these sort of negative experiences, but Anne struggles with that in the book too, but doesn't, it's not dark. It's not dark. And while I like dark, I don't like Anne of Green Gables to be dark. So I will be sticking with my Megan Follows and Jonathan Crombie version, I think, going forward. But I also liked, much more than Anne, the second season of Dirk Gently. Luke and I are in the middle of it. I loved the first season. The second season is a little different, but I still really, really, really like it. It's so quirky and fun. If you've not watched it, I recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It's based on the novels by Douglas Adams, who, of course, did Hitchhiker's Guide. So if you're into that sort of humor, Dirk Gently is for you. Luke and I went to see The Shape of Water, which is a new Del Toro film. Quite enjoyed that. I had some qualms with it, but it was beautiful. I loved the first half of the movie. I loved Octavia Spencer in the movie. I loved the woman who played the main character. I can't even remember her name. That's terrible. The mute character, which was a really, really cool addition. And I really liked that they didn't subtitle everything that she said, because just you really understood what she was saying about the context of what was going on and how people reacted to her and that sort of thing. And that was really cool. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this in a way that isn't spoilery. I expected more from the relationship between the merman and the main character. It felt a little uncomfortable to me, not because he was a fish guy and she was a human, but because he intellectually didn't progress enough for me to not feel like she was taking advantage of him in some way. Like, he acted like a bit like a dog and also like a child, except for their, like, physical relationship. So it kind of felt really like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, that just didn't feel right to me. Like, I think that they could have maybe done that a little bit. Oh, I hope you didn't hear that. Oh my gosh, I need to eat. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up soon. I only have one other thing to talk about. Yeah, so 2 things. So I liked it. I would watch it again. It was beautiful. I was watching it thinking of, ooh, I could dye a yarn color based on that. Oh, I could dye a yarn color based on that. That would be pretty. But the ending fell a little bit flat for me. I think Crimson Peak is still my favorite Del Toro film, and I think that one and Pan's Labyrinth have the strongest storytelling, in my opinion. But I definitely still really liked it, and I was not really disappointed by it. It just wasn't exactly what I was expecting. So the last thing I wanted... Well, kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about was a purchase Luke and I made. You may have seen on Instagram, but we bought an Instax camera. So we bought the Instax Wide 300, and it is huge. It's heavy, but I love a big camera personally. Like, it just feels really, like, solid in the hand, and, like, I don't know, like, I find it, like, really sturdy. Like, it's one of the things I like about my DSLR as well, is it is quite big and, like, heavy. And so, like, you feel like you're really holding a piece of, like, equipment. But, yeah, so I did opt for the wide instead of the mini. We had been thinking about the mini. But in the end, the reasons I went with this one was obviously the size of the picture is quite a bit bigger. It's about 3.5 by 4.5, I think. Quite a bit bigger than the mini. And we bought this mostly because of our Disney trip. We wanted to take Polaroids. Last time, I mean, I took like 2,000 photos on my DSLR, but I thought it would be fun to have a different way to capture some of our memories at Disney World, and a different kind of way to scrapbook. So we wanted the Instax. And I just felt like with the scope of Disney, we might prefer to have a larger photograph. So really easy to use, takes really great photos. I'll show you them in a little bit. This is obviously a mini review. It comes with a selfie attachment, which I'll show you the results of that. Well, it doesn't have to just be for selfies. It can be just for taking things close up, for detailed shots. But yeah, I'm really, really stoked about this purchase. I can't wait to take pictures in Disney World with it. It's going to be a pain to lug around every day, but that's okay. So the only thing is, like, I kind of wish, like, it came in fun colors like the Instax Mini, but it's okay. It looks like sort of a classic camera. So this was the first shot that I took just outside of our window or our sliding door. This is a picture of Opie that I took with the selfie attachment, and I covered the flash so that it wouldn't make his eyes look like glowing orbs. This is a picture I took of Luke. Oh, of like Luke and Opie at Luke's sewing table. This is using the selfie attachment again. It's me and Luke. Luke took this picture of me and Opie in the office. And I did take like another selfie, and a couple of shots didn't turn out. But I was expecting the first like roll or two to kind of be hit or miss. But it's a lot of fun, and like I can't wait, because Disney's so colorful and bright that I think the photos are gonna look really interesting, and I have an album for that and everything. But yeah, I guess the only other thing is that we're gonna be gone for about 2 weeks. We're doing 7 days in the parks. We did 5 last time, and felt a little bit rushed. We're doing 7 this time, and we got a different meal plan so we can have a sit-down table service meal every day. So that's really exciting to eat, you know, a little bit more variety and have some healthier options available to us. And you know, eat with real cutlery. I remember the last time when we came back, all I wanted was to eat a meal with a metal fork and knife. So yeah, we've got lots of reservations for eating at Morimoto Asia, Boma, which I think is the African restaurant, Ohana, which is the Polynesian, at the Polynesian Resort, Cinderella's Royal Table, Be Our Guest. We're eating at, we have tons of places. We're Crystal Palace in Magic Kingdom. So we're really excited for that aspect of it because we really didn't take advantage of all the food options the last time we went. We didn't do a lot of planning last time, and so we missed out on a lot of things. We didn't even eat a Dole Whip last time. So this time we're going to take advantage of the food. We have a bit more time to, you know, check out all the parks and see what we want to see. And then we're doing 1 day at Universal specifically for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Guys, if they hadn't made Diagon Alley, I don't think I would have gone back, but I need to see Diagon Alley. So it's a bit of a splurge to it hurts a bit to go to Universal for a day, but I think it'll be worth it in the end. Yeah, and then we just have a couple of days to hang out around the resort and go to Disney Springs and stuff like that. So it'll be very tiring. It'll be a lot of walking, but I think it's going to be so much fun, and I can't wait to escape some of this Canadian winter. And yeah, so the next time I see you will be post-trip, and I'll be able to show you some stuff. I'm hoping to take some video throughout the trip. Not really vlogging. I'm not comfortable walking around like this, but just some video clips that I'll compile into a separate video on the channel.